Hello everyone and welcome back to the GeekWave. This is the low budget show. It's the show so low we couldn't get it greenlit if we tried. That's right. We're trying to greenlight a show, but we can't because life is unfair and cruel and unjust. That has nothing to do with this podcast though. Well, kind of. Does it? I don't know. It's that time of the year again where I just ramble on before we get into the actual topic of the week. This topic is a huge deal to me. It's something I've been thinking about my whole life, probably, and I can't wait to dive into it with people. We do have an unprecedented amount of news we need to get into first, which is kind of exciting. Because I missed last week when I was on vacation. There's a couple of older news pieces we're going to be talking about here, and a couple of things that should be put side by side, but because I make these lists as I get the news, we're not going to be talking about these particular things side by side. So before we get into the news, let's once again remind people, I'm on Substack. I have 2 stories out there if you want to read them. One about a cartoon anteater struggling to find his identity. Another one about the Mothman finding their place in the universe. Kind of fun. Check those out if you want. More to come, more big stuff to come by the end of the year. It's going to be fun. And as we're approaching the end of the year too, the GeekWave will be heading over to its 2023 season. So a couple of regularly scheduled episodes we're going to get into, but then we're going to do the year-end wrap-up, talk about the movie experience of this year, and we're going to do the top 10s, hopefully the beginning of 2023. All that said, let's dive into the news of this week. There's a lot of stuff to cover. Some of it good, some of it all of it good, actually, now that I look at the list. So, except for the first piece. I'm not excited about this piece. So, 2023, March 24th, 2023, the date of my birth. On my birthday, we are getting John Wick 4, and we got our first trailer for it. This is the oldest piece of news I'll be talking about. But the John Wick 4 trailer, I am going to be as honest as I possibly can with all of you folks. I'm done with this genre. I remember 2014 when the first movie came out. I was 16 years old. 8 years later, I'm like, can we not do this anymore? We have 3 sequels to this, and then we have every ripoff, like Nobody, Atomic Blonde, Bullet Train, all of these films that exist because the John Wick formula worked, and people are like, we should do more like that. And there's more than just those, like Bad Times at the El Royale exists because of this genre, and I just don't care anymore. Like, I felt nothing watching this trailer. He has to, lose it all to gain it all again. He's going to war with who cares how many people. It doesn't excite me anymore. I hope it excites other people, and I know it does. People get very excited when they talk about how much they love this genre and this filmography. I remember when I went to see the third movie, I was really hyped about it. I'm like, this is awesome. It's great to be back in the John Wick world. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, is it? Do I just think I like it because, nothing else looks like this, but then every other movie now looks like this? It's that thing. Too many Marvel movies, too many John Wick parodies. I have no attachment to this. Keanu is not a good actor. I've said this for so long, people get so mad when I say it. Keanu Reeves is not a talented actor. He's not a good presence on screen. He's just a sweetheart in real life, and he's a nice boy. He's got an iconic look, but he's not talented. Sorry. Move on with our lives, please. So, I don't know if I'll cover it. Maybe I don't know. I haven't covered any of the other John Wicks. I don't really want to, if I'm being honest. I have no desire to really dive back into that world, but maybe I will. We'll see. Jumping from there, we do have some interesting news to kind of cover here, because as Disney prepares to launch some Indiana Jones stuff, which we'll get to in a bit here, they were kind of speculating on a potential TV show coming to Disney Plus, which I will be on board for. Do whatever you want. If you're going to say Indiana Jones TV show, I'm on board for that. The current rumor, unconfirmed, but the current rumor has it as this: Abner Ravenwood prequel, which that kind of kills the buzz for me a little bit. I mean, it is nice it's a character that we can do whatever we want with. There's no established lore, but it's like, hey, how did Indy get all of this stuff from the guy that mentored him, and he's Marion's father, and it's all going to connect, and that is upsetting. Because I'm like, that is so lazy. It's like we can't even try to do anything in the new world. How further, World War I? No, when was the first one set? 35? 36? So we set this one before that, like the First World War? It's the King's Man, isn't it? That's what this feels like to me. If we're doing an Abner Ravenwood prequel, I'm on board for it. But it feels a lot like The King's Man, a movie that is really boring and uninteresting. So I hope we don't do that. But I guess we are going to, no matter what happens. That's content forever. And content forever, we're going to have endless content until we're dead. So I guess get on board for Abner Ravenwood. But something we should get excited about for a little second here, because this is not really news. It's something I think is very fascinating that maybe could do its own video, because I do want to talk about this property at length sometime. But finally, after 25 years of trying to catch them all, Ash Ketchum has become the Pokemon Master. I don't watch the anime. I know enough about the world to get into it. I watched all of like the classic OG stuff. And I think it's just kind of cool that we've reached this point. Like, that's exciting. Like, hey, we've reached the end of this character's journey. Like, he won. That's something you don't see a lot in this genre. That's exciting. So I thought we should just talk about that, because it's like, it's a big deal in pop culture for anybody that grew up with Pokemon. You know, like, there's kids my age who have spent their whole life watching Pokemon, playing Pokemon, collecting the stuff. I have Pokemon stuff. I still keep it, you know. I still have Pokemon stuff. It's cool. And the fact that 25 years later this kid can actually win, that's kind of exciting. I have to say that does ring kind of fun in my mind. So I do enjoy hearing that kind of news. It's just kind of fun. You gotta respect it, right? It's enjoyable. It's just kind of cute. Pokemon. We'll do a video talking about Pokemon eventually. I don't know when, but we'll get to that. Moving away from Pokemon, we're going to jump back into the world. Oh, what is the name of the fictional country that this woman is from? I'll talk about these movies before we get to this, but the Princess Diaries 3 is in the works, which this was a huge deal when it came out. I know it's kind of weird, because I think the first one was 2001, and the sequel is 2004. What's the name of that country she's from? I don't know. I wanted to throw this in here because, one, it is a franchise that we can now have more movies about. I guess Anne Hathaway isn't confirmed from what I'm seeing. I'm looking at the Variety article. Anne Hathaway not confirmed, but we're doing it anyways. Maybe she'll be the queen now, and then we'll have a younger person come in. That's an idea, you know? Maybe. Anything is possible. Does it say Genovia? Genovia, is that the country? Is that a real country? I always thought it was fake. Is it real? I don't think it is. Let's spend more time on this than we should, because why would we? It is between France and Italy. That does not sound like a real country. Is it? No, it's not. I'm sorry, everybody, but there's no way they do this if they didn't get half away, so she's probably coming back. Julie Andrews, I understand if you don't get her, but you have to do this if they come back, right? I don't know. I feel like that's what should happen, but anything just sucks lately. Moving away from princesses, we're going to jump over to the world of horror, because there have been reports and conversations that Jason Blum and James Wan are in talks to merge their horror production companies, which is kind of cool. So Blumhouse, of course, being a huge distributor right now, doing a bunch of cool stuff. They rock, they roll. They've done so many cool things. And Atomic Monster is still there, like, it's known. But you bring these two guys together, arguably the most iconic faces in horror right now, like what Wan has done in that world, in that universe for his stuff is very important, and what Blumhouse has built for himself is so cool. Like, the guy has made a name for himself in this industry, and that's impressive to see nonetheless. I think that is very impactful. You bring these two guys together, I could definitely see a lot of collaboration coming from this, maybe elevating horror to new heights, and this year alone has elevated horror to new heights that I don't think I've ever imagined. I cannot wait to see what's going to come. Like, if that is actually going to happen, it's a good move for both of them, I think. You know, a little bit more leeway in terms of what you can accomplish, a little bit more freedom to commit new ideas, and that's all you kind of really need from this kind of stuff, which I think is very cool and very fun. I like it. Good. I hope this pans out. I hope this goes through because these guys would be a great team, a great tour de force. Very fun to see. Love it. That's right, folks. We're not done with the news because content forever is the old saying over there, and because Sony doesn't have their own streaming service for some goddamn reason, they're going to be working with Amazon Prime Video and going to be releasing a plethora of Spider-Man content, starting with Silk Spider Society, which will have Angela Kang from The Walking Dead show running, I do believe, and Lord & Miller are producing, as well as every other one of your favorites from the Sony universe. Okay, I am of two minds of this. And this is just because I'm a nihilist and I'm a freak. It's why I'm going to be saying what I'm about to say. First off, I don't want this to happen because too much content sucks and ruins an industry, and you're going to do it without a Spider-Man? Okay, that's a choice. At the same time, I am a nihilist and I'm like, let it burn. You know, if we're going to ruin the freaking economy of making superhero and comic book stuff, why not have it be Sony on Amazon making too many stupid Spider-Man things? That's awesome. Imagine all those other ideas they had in the back of their head. Silver Sable and Black Cat movie, boom. Aunt May's an Agent movie, boom. The Rhino thing with the Sandman, boom. Television forever. This is the start. Just imagine what we could do. It's called Spider Society. That means there'll be more than one spider in it, because why else would it be called that? I want them to tank the industry. And you know what would be the best part of this? The juiciest morsel if this ever happened? That it's better than the Marvel movies. Or better than everything the MCU's doing. Because it's possible. I, honest to God, have more faith in Sony to make a television show than I do Disney. And that is the most shocking thing I've ever said in my life. But it's true. I don't believe they can do it. I don't believe Disney can do it that well. And they haven't. They've proven they haven't. But Silk, okay. There's a comic book to do it off of. Okay. You don't technically need Peter Parker. Okay. Do it. Ruin the industry. Get us some more shitty characters on screen. I'll probably do a video talking about all of the possibilities we could do with this later. But if you want my honest opinion, fuck up the industry, Sony. It's what you do best. Let's go. Morbius prequel on TV. Let's go. Come on. What's Jared Harris doing early in his career? Let's go. Come on. Kill me. Oh, man. A couple more pieces of news to talk about as well, actually. First off, Empire was like, you guys want some Indiana Jones news? We don't have the title to reveal to you, but we have a couple pieces of information, including first looks at some characters. We just got stuff for Phoebe Waller-Bridge. We got stuff for Mads Mikkelsen. We got stuff for Harrison Ford. All of these characters that are going to be appearing. It's very fun. There's going to be a de-age scene where a young Harrison Ford is running around. Harrison Ford's like, this is the best it's ever looked. How much of this has he seen? I guess he did it for Blade Runner 2049. I can't remember. Cool, though, I guess. I don't know. Is it cool? It's there. But the piece of news that made me the happiest little lamb in the entirety of the universe is this: that old 80-year-old man Harrison Ford as Indy will be running around 1960s New York City during the space age, baby. It's the space race and Nazis have infiltrated NASA. Nazis on the moon. We're going to send Nazis to the moon. And I'm like, fuck yes. What a really specific idea, because there's actually Nazi scientists and German scientists that worked on the NASA project. I'm like, yes, that is awesome. Indy in the big city, like, I want that. That's a great idea. An old man out of place in a city when a rocket... Is he going to climb a rocket is all I want to know. This is cool. I like this a lot. Oh, fun. Good stuff, man. That's awesome. Like, yes, if you're going to do it, lean into it heavily. We can't say it's the 40s anymore. You have to move upwards. It's going to be 69, I think it's when it takes place. That's perfect. That's the greatest sentence I've ever heard in my life. All of that makes me so happy, so excited. we really won today with that news. Like, it doesn't get better than that in terms of Indiana Jones. Abner Ravenwood, sure. If you're feeling frisky, maybe that's going to be the DH scene in the movie. They're going to have a young Indy working with Abner, and then we're going to cast that guy who's Abner in the flashback to be the one in the show. Oh, I cracked the case. It should be Alden Ehrenreich. That would be so cool. Oh, I wish good things happened to that guy. He's in Ironheart, isn't he? Like, they talked about that? I can't remember. One final piece of news to dive into. This is kind of exciting. So, fresh off the success of West Side Story, I say success loosely, but it's one of the best films ever made, from Steven Spielberg. He is currently doing the rounds for The Fabelmans, which I am going to be seeing a couple days after this comes out. I am super pumped for that movie. I am expecting I'm going to cry, and I'll talk about it more when I do the review for that film, but it's essentially my life story. And he's not going to retire. Some of his contemporaries are doing I guess Coppola's doing Megalopolis next, which is unbelievable. Scorsese is slowing down, but Spielberg's like, actually, I really liked this, like the 60s. Like, that was when I watched a lot of cinema. So I'm going to make a Bullitt film, and I'm going to cast Bradley Cooper as Bullitt, and it's not going to be like it's just like another story of Bullitt. Like, it's not a remake, a reboot, or whatever, just another Bullitt story. Okay, that's kind of cool. Now, does it get me as excited as doing The Fabelmans or West Side Story? No, but Bullitt was a fucking awesome movie. I've talked about it on the channel. Oh, it hit me so hard. I thought the movie was epic in every scope. And if there's one old school filmy guy that can do it, it is Spielberg. Like, he feels like the kind of guy that would want to do that. Cooper is a weird choice, though. I don't think Bradley Cooper really fits the Steve McQueen bill, but maybe the point is to try to look different. It also kind of weirds me out that, like, Bradley's been doing a lot of heavy lifting as a director lately. He's got that weird, what is he doing? The Bernstein movie? No, he's playing some older gentleman in a weird movie, but it's very interesting. I cannot wait to see what this is going to be if it ever pans through. And you can expect the Fabelmans review coming very soon to this channel. And if I cry, I'll let you know. I'll Kevin Smith a picture of myself leaving the theater. But no, Bullitt, okay. I'm on board. He made a better West Side Story than the original. Is he going to make a better Bullitt than the original? I don't think so, but Spielberg is the guy that could do it, It's amazing he's still going. A career that started in the 70s is still going on today. That is amazing. And he's doing some of his best work today. That is how you know you've peaked as a filmmaker and you continue to do something special. Like, I am so excited, so in love with that concept. It makes me smile to no end. That's great. So that's all the news we have. Let's come back from the break and talk about a very important topic near and dear to my old heart. Is Hollywood still cool? So this is a topic I've wanted to cover for a while. It's always something I think about when I watch films in particular, or I just look at the state of the industry. It's something fun. I know I'm a nobody talking about this. I don't know anything about like the actual insider baseball of the industry, what really goes on, how things look or are perceived, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. That's just how it is. I'm never going to, hopefully I can get to the point where I understand a little more of the machinations of the thing. But I guess from like an outsider perspective, as somebody who has spent a majority of his life analyzing film, looking at film, understanding like the Hollywood lifestyle, like the people, the glitz, the glamour, that's always been something I've been drawn to and focused on. Today's climate, I think, has changed the perception of Hollywood, and it's become something entirely different. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. So when I ask the question, is Hollywood still cool? I'm genuinely trying to gauge what people think. Because you've seen the shift a lot in culture, and I think a big part of Hollywood is that they are the forefront of popular culture. Hollywood is kind of like the first semblance of entertainment we really had when it became like a worldwide phenomenon, Of course, there was just like, before Hollywood, we just had things happen. People would record shit. You'd hear a song or music. It was like whatever the fuck that is. But then it's like, boom, we're literally going to be obsessed with somebody's lifestyle, the way somebody acts and behaves. And that kind of like integrated this idea of pop culture into people. And it's just kind of morphed and morphed and morphed and morphed from there into the weird androgynous piece of shit it is today. And that's like the key thing in my opinion. It's like today, Hollywood doesn't have the same cachet as it did before. And that again is fascinating to think about. And there's a lot of factors for that in particular. We'll get into them a little bit here. But just in like, as somebody who grew up in like that era where the Disney Channel was like the biggest thing, every kid was like, oh my God, I want to be like Hannah Montana and have a dual personality, be like this person, this famous rock star, or like I want to be this really cool actress and star in all these things when I'm like this young adult. That is like the key, and that is to me like the big tonal shift of the past maybe 10 years that we've seen. Again, I am 24, and I'm in that era where it's like everybody who went to school, they had like the jobs they wanted to do. The big ones where I were from, that I just from like my personal experience was like an athlete, like a hockey player, because hockey was huge in my community. It was like pop star, you want to be like this singer, this important affluent person, rock star, all that kind of stuff. Or actress. Those are like the big things that people kind of want to be when you're young. And in the past couple of years, you have seen like that shift away, and it's become more influencer, content creator, doing all that kind of stuff, like going away from just like, oh man, Hollywood is like this cool thing. But now it's just like, we can just do that from our houses, you know, like we can just like, because of the internet, we can just do things at home. We can just become this creator doing the bare minimum. And maybe that's wrong of me to say. I say that as a guy who is unintentionally like a content creator. I know the physicality that goes into this job, the mental strain it takes. When a piece of news breaks and you're not there to cover it instantly, how hard that is. This job is not for everybody. And I'm saying that as somebody who does this, like, I understand how you view this from a young person's perspective, where you're 10, 11, 12 years old today. You're watching guys like Markiplier get paid a lot of money to make their games. You're watching maybe like you're a fan of Logan Paul and you're watching his, podcast, and you're just listening to this guy you've liked for a long time just get paid a lot of money to sit down and talk. In my honest opinion, that is where the culture has shifted in terms of like the obsession for a young person. Because even you look at like the 60s let's start here. Let's start at the very formation of popular culture for teenagers, which is the 1950s. When Elvis was swinging his pelvis, that is when things were started to be aimed towards teenagers. They were finally allowed to have personalities. There was things specifically made, types of like cars you could think, food you could eat, just like here's clothes aimed for like teenagers. That starts it. And that's like, hey, maybe you want to look like James Dean. Maybe you want to look like Natalie Wood. It's like that kind of energy you're getting to. You see Elvis and you're like, this guy's a movie star. He's a rock star. I want to have the same hair as him. I want to sing like him. That's where it starts. And then, of course, the counterculture stuff takes a big place. And then nostalgia and then pop culture just like booms in the 80s and 90s to all that stuff. But again, it's all like, you're seeing these young boys like, oh my God, I want to be like Rambo. I want to be like Rocky. I want to be like this cool guy, somebody that's in like that know. And like you see like these famous people and their lives are just so cool. And, Michael Jackson's buying these big mansions and these guys are just doing whatever they want. And it's just effortless and beautiful. And it's just like that identity. And I keep kind of going back and forth to like the rock star and like the actor lifestyle. I think it's kind of like all the same in my opinion. So when I say Hollywood, I guess I kind of mean like the glitz and glamour of it all, like the profession of being like the coolest person out there in the forefront. Is that whole thing of just like keeping up with the Joneses, where you're just so interested in that specific person. And we still do that today. Like we still do that, but today we're not like obsessing over every little detail that like somebody does like that. We still do it and it still sucks and it's harmful sometimes. But we've created the new identity for that too in things like content creator and influencer, where more people are like, I can sit at home and unbox stuff and get paid a lot of money to do that. I could have a podcast with my best friend talking about what we think about whatever. Like, that's where it's gone more towards. And that has kind of like changed the perception of Hollywood. Because on that same note too, because we have endless social media platforms, endless clips floating around Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok of just the celebrities we should be idolizing more as down-to-earth people on these podcasts or just talking about whatever, it loses its panache, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is, so I think a prime example of this is you look at a couple of those guys that, I don't want to like name names for like, there's people that have shows that you primarily see on like Instagram clips when you're scrolling through Instagram, or you see it on TikTok, and they're like, oh, this week's guest is like Nick Kroll, this week's guest is like Jack Black, this week's guest is these big guys. And I'm not saying those are like the highest echelon of actor, but like those are names that just suddenly show up on anybody's podcast. And so seeing them in a movie, seeing them on the big screen or in their stupid Netflix shows, it doesn't matter anymore because there's the level of familiarity where it's like, oh, they're Hollywood? Well, Hollywood's just like the guy next door to me. He's the guy on the podcast I just listen to sometimes. That takes away from it too. And that's this whole other thing. And I want to spend a little bit of time just getting into the death of the movie star because they're gone. Like, I honestly think, and the only movie stars we have left are of the older generation. It's Cruise, it's Washington, it's Hanks to some effort. We're slowly seeing the resurgence sometimes with, Ticket to Paradise with Clooney and Roberts doing amazing work. And you see the way that movie plays out and acts and has these actors in it. You compare that to anything else that's come out recently in that genre, and there's such a huge difference. Huge difference in quality. I really like Ticket to Paradise, by the way. It's not a great film. I'm glad it exists. But we are in an era where the death of the movie star can be linked to a couple of key factors. What I just was talking about, the influencer lifestyle, the content creator lifestyle, those are today's movie stars. More people will recognize guys like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, any of those like guys doing that shit, then they will recognize your big named celebrity walking down the street. And it's this thing, like, I'm not criticizing either lifestyle. I'm not. I like content creators. I think there's an important part of the world that needs to do that. The problem I have with it, and I say this as somebody who does this for a living, is too many people do it, and suddenly it loses its cachet because more people have the ability to do something. All the shit rises to the top. The thing is, though, like, young people are so intrinsically connected to the internet culture that that's what they're going to connect to. And when you see when Denzel and Tom Cruise were in their height was pre-internet, when these guys, we picked over every detail of Tom Cruise in an interview. We would obsessively like just follow the story of like a breakup or a lifestyle change, or like where did they move to? What's the name of their dog? We still have Stan accounts and everything, but it's not the same. And I argue this all the time. This is something I argue all the time with a bunch of people in my life. I argue this to everybody. Marvel actors are not movie stars. They are character actors. You cannot tell me that Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth are movie stars. You cannot tell me Robert Downey Jr. is a movie star. Robert Downey Jr. is a character actor. He's doing work as Tony Stark that's very similar to him. When he's doing his other works, he's a character. They're character actors. They are not these guys. Nobody went to see The Judge, okay? So he's not a movie star. They just like Iron Man. My father, God love him, is a huge Robert Downey Jr. fan, but I always tell him, I don't think you are. I think you just like Iron Man. But he also doesn't like Ironheart, so let that sink in how you want. Interesting. No offense. It's fine. But it's like, we don't have movie stars anymore. There's no one in this generation really fits that bill. There's a couple that could squeeze through the cracks. People have been saying Chalamet, Zendaya, Saoirse Ronan. But I argue they just aren't there because they're also not these people that are billed as the top of the top. They're good people, hardworking actors, very talented, very fun. They're not the top of the top anymore. And that just takes away, it takes away so much of what makes Hollywood special, you know? When we can't sit here and be like, oh man, I want to live like this guy. Well, you can see Timothy do countless interviews where he's a kid of this generation. And that's another thing I could get into, but I don't really want to, is like this generation, 26 and under, are just so engrossed in everything that could ever happen in the world that nothing really sticks or connects or matters. It's just all stuff now, and that hurts it. The fact is, this generation doesn't want to idolize people, so the lifestyle doesn't become fun anymore. Nobody's like, I got to go to Rodeo Drive. I got to get a house in Beverly Hills. Which I get it, but it goes back to this thing I'm trying to ask. Is Hollywood still cool? Is it still cool to like Hollywood? Like, I'm not somebody, I don't live there, okay? I don't live in Hollywood. I've been there a couple of times in my life. It is an interesting place, but just like that idea where you are the coolest person in the room, you are the top tier of society. Not even the top tier of society, I should say. Just like everyone has their eyes on you. Is that still something people want? There's a couple of things that stop that too. Of course, it's the Me Too movement is a big part of it, I think, where it's like you can't look at somebody and idolize them anymore without thinking there's something behind the curtain that's fucking them up or something. That is fine. Like, that destroys it too. But I want to know why. Like, why can't we still think Hollywood is like this acceptable thing? Is it okay it's not? Like, we still go see like these billion-dollar movies, but again, they're not real movies. They're Marvel movies. They're those kind of films. They're not like Hollywood movies. Is it just because the studio system has changed so much in the past couple of years, and streaming is a big contender too, because again, everything is at home, you know? Like, everybody has like celebrities they love, but they just treat them like their friends now. There's no like worship, which is good. I don't have celebrity worship. I never did, but I also don't want to talk to people. I just think when you are watching certain movies, you're like, damn, I would love to see the director and everything involved in the process of this and understand it. But I feel like that art is kind of going away. The Hollywood lifestyle, this like looking at like, hey, look at let's watch like a movie like Hail Caesar that's all about like a film set and everyone having fun on set, and look at all the weird crazy stuff going on behind the scenes. I don't know if that's still something people are interested in. You know, I 100% think content creators have destroyed that lifestyle where it's like, oh, we don't worship Miley Cyrus as Hannah Montana anymore. We're just like, we could do whatever we want. We could just make whatever we want, and it's easier. And streaming has killed that too. But there's something so cool just about old school Hollywood, and maybe it's just because I love old Hollywood. I'm a sucker for that shit. I love the idea of just like these big bombastic parties behind the scenes, everyone dancing, having cocaine snorted up their ass or something. I love that so much. And then as society moves on, we just slowly stop thinking of Hollywood as like this beautiful place. It just becomes like a machine. And that's a problem too, you know? Like, I completely understand how a kid in the 50s who just saw like the latest Elvis picture goes to their local salon or barbershop, like, make me look like Elvis. I'm going to go to Hollywood to make it big, because there's still the veneer of something cool there. There's still something to be said about that place where you're like, this is where dreams are made of. But now you can make your dreams at home. Now you can tweet well, maybe not now, but you can now social medially direct your like interest to the person you should be idolizing. It's weird, but it's so fascinating to me. I wonder when exactly the moment there was the shift. I think there was a couple moments where Hollywood lost its like cool factor, where it's like mysterious and cool, like, oh, you have to be in the know to know. Epstein, Me Too, those really fucked it up, of course. Internet really killed it. Social media killed it. Content creators killed it. But I guess the more contemporary stuff, I just think Marvel killed it. Just like, oh, suddenly we don't have like a Rat Pack or a Brat Pack that we're going to focus on to obsess over. Like, oh, we have to go see the news about what's going on with Christian Slater and all that stuff. Like, we don't have that anymore. It's such a different culture. And the shift, it's a weird one. And it makes you wonder, like, how long is Hollywood gonna have it? There's still people who obviously go on vacation there, they tour the sites, they look at all that stuff. But that's not gonna last either, is it? It definitely feels like it's gonna go away. You know, is a person right now who is 15 and not a cinephile interested in seeing where they filmed Beverly Hills Cop? I remember when I was about 18 or 19 when I went on vacation with my mother and my cousin and my aunt. We went on this tour of all like the big sites where they filmed a lot of stuff. And I was the youngest person on the bus, and I was probably the most excited. Again, I'm not a normal person like that, okay? I'm not a casual person. No casual person does an episode of their podcast talking about whether Hollywood is relevant or not. And I was just like, this is fun. This is cool. This is what I want. I like seeing this world. But I also wondered, like, to my cousin, who one of the closest people I'm with, who likes this stuff similar to me, but not to the extent I obsess over it. I wonder if he is interested in learning specific details about the city we are in. And that's like, I don't know if a younger generation does that. It's still cool to the guys who live there and the people who like love film and you want to know more about the history, but to a casual person, the veneer is gone. It's not fun anymore. It's just another building we're in. And that is so fascinating. I love that. So I feel so conflicted when it comes to Hollywood these days. Because we can get back to that classic feeling. Not, of course, to like the extent of fucking Babylon or whatever is going to come up there, you know. But we can recapture that magic a little bit, I think. But nowadays, we can just film wherever we want. Marvel films in Atlanta, you know. Half of them film in Europe now. Like, we don't have, like, Hollywood as, like, that icon it used to be. The icon itself is just landmarks now. It's not like the atmosphere. The atmosphere's gone. You know, you don't feel like the rush walking down the street. Maybe you're going to see Elizabeth Taylor. Maybe you're going to see Richard Burton. You don't have that anymore. Now it's like, hey, Mark Hamill just retweeted the thing I tweeted. And that makes me sound old. But the truth is, like, Hollywood used to have this passion behind it. Not just to the people that worked there, but to any bright-eyed, bushy-tailed person wanting to become famous, become popular, to be seen. And nowadays, you don't have that for Hollywood. So I don't think it's as cool as it used to be. The thrill is gone in some aspect of it. But to those of us who love classic Hollywood, and again, I don't know. Okay, let me rephrase this. I know young people who love classic Hollywood. I have a friend, me and him watched every Steve McQueen film. It was a great time. But I'm like, that is so specific in genre where I can't just like walk down the street and feel like the buzz of being in Hollywood anymore. I wonder why that is. I know why. I just kind of said it, but it's shocking to me. Like, this is like, we still make billion-dollar films from Hollywood. Why doesn't it feel special anymore? Because we oversaturated the market? Because there's too much content to compete with it? Hollywood was the first piece of content out there, you know? You had comics for children and magazines for the gal, and then you're like, this is a new piece of technology that these two guys made. Here's a train coming at you, and then boom, the industry takes off, and then boom, you have these famous people just becoming these people you idolize and you worship and you respect, gods unto themselves, essentially. And that doesn't exist anymore. And you don't feel Hollywood being as special as it used to be. Again, people live there and they know it's special. But the energy of Hollywood just feels a lot like the rest of California. And yes, California has always been a little bit more open and spirited than the rest of the world, but I don't know. To answer the question I was posing this entire video, is Hollywood still cool? I think it can be. But right now, it feels like just the forgotten relic. You know how you think about certain places in your small town where like this was a staple there, and when they rebranded, it just didn't work? That's Hollywood. When the world went fast, Hollywood tried to catch up, but that iconic lifestyle of just like the glitz and glamour, the Tinseltown, the starry lights, the anybody can be a star here, it doesn't exist anymore. We don't have movie stars, we have too many content creators, and the world just hasn't waited for it. And that's crazy. So, as much as I admire Hollywood and respect it and think it's a huge piece of history, of historic filming that I will talk about till the end of my days, it's not cool. It has not been cool for a while. It has been a relic to people that like it. And the lifestyle of the rich and the famous, well, it's achievable at home. But also, that's just one guy's opinion. Maybe to you, Hollywood is still vibrant and floating about in this beautiful aura, something you want to go to. But tell me this, you get cast in a movie, you could do it anywhere. Not special anymore. We got a big Hollywood and we got a Walk of Fame, but, well, they're not the cleanest sights in the world. We kind of let it go. The world, keeping up with the Joneses, Tinseltown, baby, it's all over. That's the end of Hollywood. Well, it's not the end of Hollywood. Who am I kidding? But yeah, that's where it went. It's not fun anymore. Pretty sad to think about. But what do you guys think? Is Hollywood cool? Has Hollywood ever been cool? Is it something you like? Is it something you care about? Am I crazy for thinking this? Or is this just where we are in society? Because personally, Hollywood isn't cool. But I'll love it forever. So, thank you guys for watching this episode of the GeekWave. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, please give us a rating over there. It definitely helps everything out in this genre. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Did I say that already? I think I did. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Hive Social, maybe. We'll see what happens. I'm probably not going to use Hive, but I'm on there, and I'm here too. Hollywood, baby, I love you. Let's figure you out some more. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.